Hi, I'm just sharing this from Darren Not Fake Richardson, who says, I did not vote Tory. So, my last few videos and some document articles that I've written recently, I have been sharing my concerns that this election was rigged, because there's so many things that just on the surface of it, without even going into the details of evidence that's now surfacing, it just felt so wrong. I mean, it just did not make sense that Boris Johnson won a landslide victory in a country that, even with the Brexit win, it was only 40%. Sorry, 4%. It was only 4% win on the side of Brexit. And we know for sure, without a shadow of a doubt, that by August, the majority of the country overwhelmingly did not want to leave the EU on a hard Brexit. That much was sure. Okay, so, this idea that the whole of the country, this landslide victory for Boris Johnson, sorry, no, it really just made me want to vomit, because it's just so blatant. It's so blatant. I mean, like I've said, millions of people did vote for him. That's the way things work. But he did not win by a landslide. Would he have even got in with the coalition? Because I know the risks that these guys were facing. And it really was. It came down to, it's them or us, and they decided to throw us over the edge of the cliff, because believe you me, it's them who should have been waiting on the edge of a cliff with those EU tax directives and all the scrutiny they involved on all the illegal and fraudulent businesses that are set up in London. Okay, because we are talking a major crime syndicate here. They've been filtering billions, hundreds of billions, if not trillions, not just from Britain but from all over the world, with their fake companies that are all registered in and around London, various addresses, boiler room addresses, shell companies, you name it, the lot. They were facing some serious harassment, exposure, embarrassment, arrests, because we're talking crime here. This isn't just about the money. But everything they do is about the money. For them. For more power for them. But we are dealing with total idiots. And I tell you, if they'll throw a population over the cliff for nothing more than their own vanity and conceit and arrogance, they'll quite happily destroy the planet. And they'll tell themselves, well, it doesn't matter if most of the planet gets destroyed, as long as we leave a nice little bit for ourselves, because they're so stupid. They will be facing extinction, because the universe operates on a system of abundance, and these people are thrift merchants, except when it comes to themselves. So, that aside, this is from Darren, and I'm just going to read you this thread, and I'll show you a couple of other links. And like I say, make your minds up, people. It is time to ask questions. I've said previously, we probably will end up having to do in Iceland to force these criminals out of office, because that's what it takes. When a country is being overtaken by a coup, then it is up to the people to stand up and protest peacefully. All protests must be peaceful, because we need to think of the children and the vulnerable people. Okay, that's why lawful, peaceful protest, and we all need to come out, literally do in Iceland. So here's Darren's thread. Today I've been thinking about last Thursday, and I want all sides to read this, process it, and draw your own conclusions. This is not lefty tears, nor is it typical Ramona. Read on. Think back to last summer, Maybot resignation. Conservatives have a leadership election. Tory Leave get their candidate, Johnson. That's the stall set out. It begins. The die in a ditch soundbite. 4 losses at meaningful vote. 21 expelled Tory. Expulsions, defections, grieve, Tig, Lib Dems taking Tory over spills. Parliament is shook, but it isn't finished yet, troops. C4 News starts to creep into being partisan. The BBC go full on. Peston sells his soul to Diablo, a corporate takeover. October 31st is high noon. We have Johnson lying to the Queen to prorogue Parliament, thus cutting out a hell of a lot of negotiation time with the EU, meticulously planned, and mostly Remain hock in uproar, House of Commons. Bercow doing what he can to slow the Johnson juggernaut. 5. The country getting more agitated. The ERG, Farage, hedge funders start to slowly turn the thumbscrews. Meanwhile, Corbyn is being destroyed on social media and the MSM. It is utterly relentless, trollbot central, to the point people start to believe black is white. November the 1st and no ditch has been dredged to find the body of Johnson. Corbyn gets called for it. Another delay till January next year to leave. MSM go warp factor 10. Phasers on full shoot to kill. Tango spotted. Labour. Election gets called. 6 weeks of barracking follow. Purdah is called, but it gets broken quite a few times. The TV become the longest panto ever. Yeah, but Labour this, but Jeremy Corbyn that. The smears, disinformation, sleight of hand and projection, overclocking our minds. Then comes the punchline, a terror attack. TV and media full of VT of Patel, Johnson and entourage making themselves look busy and involved. Get the country scared and they will vote for you to protect them. This just after the announcement of more police, nurses, yada yada. Convenient. Election not long later. Prominent political figures lose their seat, one ousted from the seat he's had for years. Labour get annihilated. Close calls in some seats. Targeted Tory seats losing to Conservative MPs, currently filling them. No recounts anywhere. The North and Wales vote Tory. Headline news, Boris has done it. Mark, Francois, Budgeon, Mogg and co let out a huge sigh, and another 5 years awaits. Let's process the first 10 tweets, shall we? I've grubbingly timelined since summer last year. Judging by all that has happened up until now, I'm questioning the result. Yes, the Tories have won, but what did they do to achieve it? The clue is in the tagline, get Brexit done. Hedge funding is the practice of betting on something so it bears fruit. Say it's the Grand National and only 2 horses are in it. Number 17.4 with the blinkers leave and number 15.6 with the sheepskin noseband remain. And they're off. 3.5 years to go. The race has twists and turns. The first 2 circuits Leave is ahead, as in David Davis has it under control. 3rd circuit, Leave faces Beecher's Brook, takes a tumble, Irish backstop. Jockey, Irma Hedger, gets straight back on and canters. Coming to the finish line, 150 yards to go, Remain is gaining on the first place horse. Leave, start using the whip metaphor. Finish line of the Grand National election, winner, Leave. Why? Because if you bet a load of bank to leave the EU, you are not just going to roll over. So what you do is dope the horse. Or in politics terms, rig the vote. Laura Kuensberg made a fatal mistake. On Daily Politics she blurts out about postal votes and how it's looking bad for Labour. She could only have known this either because she knew the private firm, Idox. Or she was present while Labour postal votes were lost, ergo shredded or deemed as spoiled. Why was she and Raab allowed near? Because they're all involved. How can postal vote numbers go from 18% in 2017 to 37% in 2019, when each election to go before grows only 2% more postal? Who runs out? Who runs most of the polling here? Who runs the MSM? Who is planning to crash the economy so when we Brexit the only people to actually benefit are Hedges, Farage and the ERG? Do you honestly think Johnson will let his backers down when billions ride on it? Brexit was never about you. Not the foreigners' fault, or Muslims, or Corbyn. They were all created and forever tarnished by the gutter press as bogeymen to sway your opinion. Steve Bannon, Cummings and Trump are profiting from your installed hate. The MPs losing their jobs mostly remain. How to get a victory? Rig the vote. Make the North the scapegoats. So it's them who were blamed by dyed-in-the-wall supporters thinking their comrades betrayed them. Were they betraying you, or was it a Cummings diversion? The Conservatives will not just let billions escape them when they can get the country to vote for the same BS for the last 10 years. 10 years of poverty, wages, homelessness, food banks, sky-high rents, 0 hours. How can Corbyn lose when he draws Nuremberg-type crowds? While Johnson would only dream of drawing that figure. Who does this vote benefit? Who does this vote benefit? America, hedge funders and the ERG, that's who. You were sold a dummy and fell for it. I don't want to hear yeah but Corbyn. I want to hear if you're happy to blow both your kneecaps off. Rigging the postal vote gets you over the line. Close call ballots can easily be massaged. Look at Amber Rudd in 2017. Stop believing the anally retentive lying six-figure paid operatives on the box. Google is a tool. I suggest you actually use it. End of thread. P.S. I am not a Labour, not a Corbynista, not a Ramona. I'm on the fence. I'm a thinker, not deluded, not stupid, not swallowing any BS, and I loaned Labour my vote. I'm centre and slightly left. I am just a concerned human being, fearful for the road we are taking. PBBS. Johnson is already backtracking on his election promises you could have wrote on the back of a cigarette packet, wanting to bring in photo ID for future ballots, negating workers' rights on the fly, and more. The aim was to obliterate opposition. Mission accomplished. To add to the postal vote rigging, look what happened at Tower Hamlets in 2014. Let me add something else. Remember when his office had a spray attack, IDS? Then he wins by 10,062 votes. Did someone do it to get at him and jeopardise the vote, or was it of his own doing to cause a rumpus because he was odds on to lose? See this? How long after the election? Now, come on, lefty Twitter, open your eyes. We need number of PV requests per constituency and number of PV casts. This info should be in public domain. The company, or one of them, filed for closure with today's date, so data from them will be lost. Is anyone collating this into info election fraud? You see? So now I'm just going to share this, and I'll be leaving you these links. But you know, basically what we've got here is a prime Conservative member who has direct connections with Idox. I mean, they're involved in it because what they've done is they've handed over vote counting to a private firm called Idox, and its board of directors includes Peter Lilly and Peter Lilly, a Conservative MP and deputy leader of the Conservative Party until his appointment to the House of Lords in 2018, was also an Idox director from 2002 to April 2018 before his ascension to the Lords. Why would anyone think it is acceptable for a private company there to make profit for shareholders with such obvious ties to a political party or any political party. That doesn't matter anywhere near counting votes. Well, it looks even more suspicious when it seems the first election Idox used their systems for was the 2014 independence referendum for Scotland. And in 2014, David Cameron sent a letter out to everyone on the electoral register telling them to sign up for postal voting Idox in the Scottish referendum. There's also a number of news articles about concern over the Tory directorship of a company doing vote counts. David Cameron's letter is shown on the Wikispooks page. So suddenly it makes sense how Conservative Dominic Raab and Conservative chief propagandist Laura Kusenberg can claim to have knowledge of postal vote results even before the election, when electoral law dictates the postal votes are not opened or looked at until the polling stations close at 10 p.m. on election day. How? I tell you, anybody who accepts this vote, I'm sorry, you're not making sense. You're accepting nonsense. And it is a crime to accept nonsense when people's lives are on the line, when our NHS is on the line, when your children's human rights are on the line, when your children's future's on the line. Because somebody's going to fall off the edge of a cliff here. And the people that should be falling off the edge of the cliff are the criminals, financiers, and all their crimes and crap. Like I say, that the EU will be exposed, and they deserve to go to jail for their crimes, for what they've done, and the damage that they've caused, and the misery that they've inflicted. So who's it going to be? They've decided it's us, and all they needed to do it is rig an election to save their own skins. And when people start to understand exactly what these people were facing, I'll leave you the links, and now understand what they're going to do to us. People will be losing their homes. They will be, but it will get worse and worse and worse and worse, because that's what criminals are like. The more you let them get away with their crimes, the more powerful they get, and the more oppressive they are against their victims. And they will all have us all under martial law, under point of a gun, before we can even blink. And who's going to come and rescue us? Is America going to rescue us? Who's going to rescue the British people? Nobody, except us, ourselves. And how? When you've got, what, Tommy Robinson and his gang helping to make Boris Johnson's leadership more secure so we can get Brexit done. Who are DynCorp going to be hiring to help police the streets on post-Brexit, when you're all queuing up for your very expensive rations because your pound is suddenly only worth 25p? Oh gosh. BBC, you want sacking, because you should have been warning the public about this. Because it's a matter of public interest. The truth, you know, reality. The reality of a hard Brexit and what these people have been up to. All this is investigative reporting that you, BBC News, should have been doing and informing the public, but you didn't. And that's why you're all going to be sacked. And yes, I am upset, because I am aware of just how many lives are on the line. And it's not just British people's lives either. We're talking about an influence across the world. And who's behind all this? Yes, we know. They're all Zionists at heart. David Cameron, I am a Zionist. Tommy Robinson, I am a Zionist. Theresa May, Zionist. The lot of them. Donald Trump, I am a Zionist. And yet simultaneously they empower that hard, far-right, fascist extremism that is known to target Jews. and also Muslims. And it is absolutely despicable what has been going on. Now, at the moment, we've got this former ambassador to Israel calls for persecution of Muslims in France. But I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up. Another Zionist calling for persecution of Muslims, but, you know, anybody. But then in the same day, we've had Netanyahu state that anybody who criticises Zionist atrocities against Palestinians are anti-Semitic. That is actually what he said. That's why Jeremy Corbyn's anti-Semitic, by the way. He's complained about Israeli treatment. I mean, you know, to me, it is like living in Count Dracula's backyard, isn't it? It really is. It's time to kick these vampires out. It really is. It's time to boot them out of power and bring them right down to touch, because this, I'm sorry, calls for persecution of Muslims in France. December 23rd, former ambassador of France to Israel has called on the government in Paris to crack down on the religion of Islam and Muslims, likening it to the historical persecution of Roman Catholics during the French Revolution. Gerard Araud, who served as ambassador to Israel from 2024 to 2019, said on Twitter yesterday, "The Republic, as it did with Catholicism, will have to impose its law on Islam. Let's not forget that she sent the troops to the monasteries and expelled thousands of monks. It was not easy. It may not be, but firmness and common sense pay off." What the bloody hell is this? Well, we all know what's happening in France at the moment. The public are up against the corporation. Now they want to turn the public against each other, divide the public, and get them all fighting Muslims. Okay? You know, they're so blunt and brutal, they're so transparent, that anybody who has even a slight knowledge of what's going on in the world, we know what this is about. It's a distraction, but also they hate Muslims. So, you know, my fear is especially for the Muslim and Jewish communities post-Brexit, especially the Jewish people who've stood by Corbyn. This, because we're talking about violent thugs, you know, the kind of people that'll shoot Joe Cox MP through the heart over Brexit, apparently. Or was it about the Panama Papers that she knew all about? So, you know, we're dealing with some really dodgy people here. And I'll leave you these links. Idox Elections, they do the postal vote. Or, you know, just counting the software. Look, the Tories, they've got the hands in it. Boris Johnson, the reason why he didn't go to any debates or interviews, or, you know, just made breezing things through the public, listening to a load of verbal abuse mostly off people, because he knew damn well that he was going to win the election, it was going to be rigged, they were going to announce it, the BBC were going to be there, they were going to put the fake polls out, the YouGov poll, yeah, Johnson's in the lead, as if he was in the lead. Come on, people, come on, wakey wakey. Look, have a nice Christmas, have a nice New Year, but get ready to get out on your doorsteps, literally, in every town and city across Britain. Get ready to get out and stand up for your children's rights. Because I tell you now, if we don't do it this year, they're lost. Right? They're lost to this set of evil, horrible monsters who actually robbed us of our votes. They've robbed us of our money They're robbing us of our healthcare system, they're robbing us of our education system, they're robbing us of even our United Kingdom. They are a set of thieves, and people die. And that's why the only thing that they've stocked up on for the people of Britain is fucking body bags.